Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Kentucky's always in the news. There's always something going on with the Wildcats that's at least worth discussing. And I saw a stat that kind of caught my attention about who Kentucky is and really who they can be, okay? Because we all saw year one of the Mark Pope era. It exceeded everyone's expectations, including mine. Sweet 16. They beat Duke when they're at full strength. They beat Gonzaga when they're at full strength. They sweep Tennessee. They a million great wins. They beat Florida. They beat the eventual national champions at full strength, okay? But I just bring it up because of the fact that by the end of the year, you get kind of worn down by injuries. You were kind of an okay but not great defensive team all year. And as I've said, it felt like there were some major priorities in the portal when Mark Pope went in there. So what is the stat and what does it say about this season? So first of all, producer Matt, you can pop up the tweet from Evan Miyakawa. So Evan Miyakawa is one of these analytics guys. I've met him a couple times. Great guy, works hard. And he puts together all these different analytics, and I'm not going to try to claim to know what's going on in his computer, but he ran a model of who are the 5 best players defensively that entered the portal this year and where are they going. Number 1 is Jaden Quaintance going to Kentucky. Number 2 is Merez Johnson going to Michigan. Number 3 is Big Z, which I know that shocked Arkansas fans and Kentucky fans as well, but Big Z, according to the model, is. Number 4 is Mo Diabate, who is going to Kentucky. And number 5 is Mustafa Thiem, who is headed to Cincinnati from UCF. I bring it up because this graphic, this fact that Kentucky has 2 of the top 4 defensive players in the portal, it confirms what I have been saying all offseason. Mark Pope learned some very important lessons in year 1 at Kentucky. I think he has applied them to his second roster, and this is why I am so excited about this 2025-2026 team. Okay, so first of all, like first of all, 2 players. Let me even talk about the players because I'll say this. I was thinking about this. Jaden Quaintance. Okay, so Jaden Quaintance right now is dealing, had knee surgery. He's in recovery mode. Okay, all reports are that he is going to be hopefully healthy by, back on the court by late summer, hopefully healthy by November, the start of the season. If Jaden Quaintance is healthy at any point this season, I don't think it's hyperbole, in my opinion, to say that he might be one of the 5 best players in college basketball this year. Okay. Now listen, players aren't ever going to jump off the page if they don't average 20 points per game. Okay. But Jaden Quaintance, think about this. He was 17. He turned 17 last July. He played his entire season as a 17-year-old in the Big 12 against Houston, against BYU, against Arizona. He averaged 9.5 points, 8 boards, and 2.5 blocks, closer to 3 as a 17-year-old in the Big 12. So can you imagine the leap that he is going to make as a sophomore playing major college basketball, okay? And so to me, I think this kid is due for a breakout. But again, 2.5 blocks as a freshman, as a 17-year-old. He won't be 18 until July of this coming summer. So he's 17 right now and had 2.5 blocks and played elite defense in the second best conference in college basketball behind the SEC. Secondly, shout out Evan Mia for this. I love Mo Diabate. I just don't think there's ever any way to tangibly show how good a guy is defensively if he's not a 7-footer blocking a million shots or a perimeter. And so Mo Diabate, to me, when he committed, I said, look, I love this commitment. And people said, oh, Torres, you're overhyping him because he's committed to Kentucky. I'm like, no. This guy is elite defensively, plays crazy hard. He's just, listen, Nate Oates, what is Nate Oates called? The hard hat guys. He gives out a hard hat for like the most deflections and steals and whatever every game. Mo Diabate was the quintessential hard hat guy for Nate Oates this year. Again, the stats don't blow you away if you didn't watch Alabama on a day in, day out basis. But at the same time, Mo Diabate, to me, was one of their best and most consistent players. And by the way, I know Alabama wanted to keep him. It was just like, hey, we have to prioritize other guys with our financial situation, and we can't keep everybody. So this is a guy in Alabama's win at Rupp Arena, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. I know that doesn't blow you off the page, but think about how good that game was and how well Kentucky was playing at that time. 8 blocks, 8 rebounds, and probably the toughest road environment that he played all year. 22 points and 10 boards with a block and a steal against Vandy. We got 13 points and 10 rebounds and 4 assists against Missouri. 10 points and 11 boards against Mississippi State. Oh, by the way, in the SEC tournament, 12 points and 12 boards against Florida in the semifinals. So I'm not trying to read off a stat sheet, but what I am trying to say, I think he is so much better than he gets credit for because he doesn't have the countable stats that stand out. But this is an elite defensive player, and this speaks to what I've been saying since Mark Pope put together this roster. Listen, last year was about establishing his identity. Mark Pope had short amount of time to put together a roster. Did an amazing job, of course. But, you get into the season, and when you're healthy, everything's humming. But we've talked about it. By the end of the year, Lamont Butler's playing with one shoulder. Jackson Robinson's out for the year. Andrew Carr was in and out of the lineup with back injuries. And you could just see by the end of the year, it was like, oh, this team just doesn't have enough oomph to it. No disrespect to Travis Perry, who's no longer with Kentucky. Trent Noah, who's probably going to be your 12th, 13th guy next year. Colin Chandler is probably going to be your 10th or 11th guy next year. If those guys are playing significant minutes in big SEC games, it's probably not going to work out well. It's just not, okay? And so I just bring it up because by the end of the year, you could see the difference in size and physicality every time Kentucky took the court. Go back to the Alabama game in the SEC. By the way, Oklahoma, which was a fringe tournament team, easily could have lost to them in the SEC tournament. Easily could have lost at Oklahoma late in the season. That's not a knock. I'm just saying that's not the standard at Kentucky. And so you go into the SEC tournament, you lose to Alabama, the athleticism and physicality, it's not even close. And then, of course, against Tennessee, it was kind of the same. And so I've said all offseason, I've said Mark Pope has very clearly made a decision. He is sacrificing a little bit of skill. Listen, he had a lot of skill on last year's roster, but not necessarily the athleticism, not necessarily the physicality that he needed. At some points, you just have to have guys that when things break down can make a play, that when the ball goes on the rim, you just go get an offensive rebound and you get a putback, that you can get a big stop when you need to, something that Kentucky couldn't do for most of the year. I mean, listen, go back and look at Kentucky's games. They were able to win for probably the first 60% of the season only one way. They had to score 85 points or they were losing. Now, by the end of the year, they were better defensively, but it was clear that Mark Pope was going to add size and athleticism, toughness, and he needed more of a defensive presence going into 2025, 2026. So Jalen Lowe is probably, different player than Lamont Butler, but he's crazy athletic and he can go get you a bucket if he needs to. Mo Diabate can shut people down in a way that I don't know that anybody for Kentucky other than Lamont Butler could last year. Jaden Quaintance, again, I think is going to be one of the best players in college basketball if he comes back healthy. Brandon Garrison is the same. Otega Oweh very much as well. So I'll tell you this, Kentucky's an interesting team. Nobody actually mentioned in the chat, shout out nobody, is that he said that Mark Pope basically said, hey man, look, I'll start doing post-season interviews when my roster is complete. He has not done very many, which seems to indicate that he is still very much in recruiting mode. Now, I think outside of Otega Oweh, assuming Otega Oweh eventually comes back, I don't think there's like a major piece for Kentucky to add. But I just bring it up because if Kentucky, even though they probably don't have a major piece to add, by the way, if Otega Oweh goes in the draft, then you're kind of screwed because there's not that kind of player left over in the portal. But the counter to that is that if Otega Oweh comes back, I think right now you're looking for role players. You're looking for 9th, 10th guys, 5th, 6th guy off the bench. So I think Kentucky is in pretty good shape. But this stat blew me away. 2 of the top 5 defenders in the portal this offseason are Kentucky Wildcats. And again, I think you can see very clearly Pope is prioritizing size, athleticism, toughness, and he got plenty of it with Jaden Quaintance and Mo Diabate. By the way, he had plenty coming back with Otega Oweh and Brandon Garrison as well. I know it's only April. I know we got 11 months till we crown another national champion and about 6 before the games get played, but I cannot wait to watch this team.